Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, Brother Tan Ho Soon has asked me to give a talk on the qualities of a wise man today. Firstly, a wise man is you can consider it from the worldly point of view and the Buddhist point of view. And these two views are very different. So today we will consider the Buddhist point of view. Worldly point of view might be if you are a billionaire, you're a wise man. If you can cheat people of $1 million, you're a wise man, but not the Buddhist way. Now, in the suttas, the Buddha said that a fool cannot recognize a wise man, and a fool also cannot recognize a fool. But a wise man can recognize a fool, and a wise man can recognize a wise man. Why is it so? Because a fool does not know what are the qualities of a wise man and what are the qualities of a fool. But a wise man knows. So hopefully after this talk, we will all be wise. That's what the Dhamma is for, to make us wise. A lot of things we don't know, the Dhamma teaches us. In the Mangala Sutta, it is stated, Asevana cha balanang pandita nancha sevana puja cha pujaniyanang etam mangala muttamang. Not to associate with fools, to associate with the wise. To honor those worthy of honor, this is the highest blessing. So the Buddha is telling us not to associate with fools, but with wise men. Why is this so? Because our friends influence us, especially when we are young. As they say, birds of the same feather flock together. There is a doctor who told me he has several brothers, and two of his brothers are drug addicts. So he told me he was very lucky. His peers showed him the way. So today he's a successful doctor, whereas two of his brothers became drug addicts. So peers are very important. Elders who advise us, who lead us, our teachers, our elders. In the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta 129, there is a sutta called Bala Pandita Sutta, Fools and Wise Men. This is a sutta that talks a lot about fools and wise men. And there the Buddha said, a fool is recognized by three things, and a wise man is recognized by three things. A wise man thinks good thoughts, speaks good words, and does good deeds, whereas a fool does evil thoughts, evil words, and evil deeds. Good thoughts are wholesome thoughts, compassionate thoughts, kind thoughts. Thinking good about other people, not thinking to harm other people. And then good words are beneficial words, words that help other people. For example, the Dhamma. The Dhamma is the most helpful. Words of Dhamma are the most helpful. Because in the suttas, the Buddha said, the highest gift is the gift of the Dhamma. Later you'll also understand why. Also, gentle words, likable words, good words. And good deeds are helpful deeds, helping other people. These three things, thoughts, words, and actions or deeds, are the three karmas. And these three karmas, you can consider there are 10 things in there. Concerning the body, you can do evil with your body in 3 ways. That is to kill, to steal, and to engage in sexual misconduct. That is 3 evil body karmas. So the reverse is the 3 good karmas. You don't kill, you don't steal, you don't engage in sexual misconduct. And then the 4 evil verbal karmas are lying, divisive talk. That means, say, like being a batu api. You listen to A talking bad about B, and then another day you tell B, A said this and this and this. So you cause people to quarrel and all that. So you divide people. That is the second type of evil speech. The third is coarse speech, vulgar speech, gong chao hua. So this is the third one. And then the fourth one is idle gossip, talking too much, cakap banyak. So wasting time. Time is very precious, especially as we are getting older. Time is very precious. So the 10 good karmas are very important. We do 10 good karmas, we are wise. If we do the 10 evil karmas, we are foolish because we will suffer for it, either now or later. In the Anguttara Nikaya 4.186, the Buddha said, a man of great wisdom does not harm himself, does not harm others, does not harm both. He thinks only of his own welfare, the welfare of others, the welfare of both, and the welfare of the whole world. Now in this Bala Pandita Sutta, another thing that is mentioned is that the wise man feels pleasure and joy here and now. Why? Because of his good karma. And because he has not done evil, he has no remorse. Remorse is something that is very harmful. Nowadays people go into depression because of remorse. So this is sometimes seen in newborn babies. Newborn babies, if you have a baby that is always smiling and laughing, you know he has got very good karma. But there are some babies crying all the time, cry baby. They probably came from not a very good place. The third thing that is mentioned in this Bala Pandita Sutta is that the wise man is free from fear. Free from fear because he is blameless. He has not done evil, so he is not afraid. So for example, if you are in your residential area and then a lot of police suddenly come, you're not a criminal or something, you won't be afraid, isn't it? But if you've got something to hide, then you're afraid. So also in the Majjhima Nikaya Sutta 115, the Buddha said, all fears arise in the fool, not in the wise man. So a foolish person, because of having done evil, is afraid all the time. The fourth thing mentioned in the Bala Pandita Sutta is that a wise person will have a good rebirth. There are 5 destinations of rebirth that await us when we die. Later books talk about 6 destinations, Liu Tao Lun Hui, but original Buddhism talk about 5. And these 5 consist of 2 happy destinations and 3 woeful planes. The 2 happy is human rebirth and heavenly rebirth. And woeful destination is to be born as a ghost, an animal, or in hell. Okay, so wise person will be reborn as a human being or as a deva or devi. In fact, in this sutta, it is said that if a person falls into hell, he's a perfect fool. If a person goes to heaven, he is a perfectly wise man. Because the Buddha said, life is like a gamble. So this perfect fool, he goes to Genting Highland or to Sentosa Casino. He brings all his money there to gamble, hoping that he'll become a millionaire or a billionaire. And then in that one night, he loses all his money. And the Buddha says he gets himself into slavery, becomes a slave. And then even his wife and children he loses. So this is a perfect fool, isn't it? Never gambled before, suddenly gambled and lost everything. So life is a gamble. We come into this life. We also bring our capital, our punji. That is our blessings, the blessings we bring into life. And if you are a wise person, when you die, you will have more blessings than before. So you go to a better place. But the fool will use up all his blessings and not create more blessings, and he'll go for a bad rebirth. So the result of being a wise man, you go for a good rebirth. In another sutta, it is said that most human beings, after we die, we go into woeful plains of rebirth. And the reason is because of two things that they don't practice. Dana and sila. Dana is charity or generosity. That means the willingness to help other people, the willingness to help other beings, having a kind heart. And the second one is sila. Sila is not to harm others, refraining from harming others. So you have 7 precepts actually that are very important. These 7 precepts are called the Aryan precepts. A lot of people think that if you keep the 5 precepts, you can go for a good rebirth, but not 5 precepts, but 7, because Aryan precepts are found in the Noble Eightfold Path, consisting of right speech, right action, and right livelihood. And you investigate these 3 factors, there are 7 precepts there. 3 body precepts: not to kill, not to steal, not to engage in sexual misconduct. And verbal is 4, as I mentioned just now: not to lie, not to engage in divisive speech, not to engage in vulgar or coarse speech, not to engage in idle gossip. So these 7 precepts are extremely important. So these 2 things, if a person does these 2 things, charity and uphold the 7 precepts to a lesser degree, you will be reborn as a human being with not so good karma, not so lucky. If you keep these 2 things to a medium degree, you'll be born as a human being with a medium, medium level of livelihood. If you do these 2 things to a higher degree, you'll be born with a lot of good luck. So dana and sila is a very basic, very basic. If you want to go to heaven, then bhavana, siu heng, siu sing is also needed. Because siu sing, siu heng, basically is siu lui heng ui. This word bhavana means development. And a lot of people like to think that bhavana is meditation. Bhavana is not only meditation. Bhavana is development of your mind, development of your character. And it involves listening to the Buddha's suttas, the Buddha's words, and then meditating to get the strength of mind to do what you should do and not to do what you should not do. And then the third thing is to observe your maoping, your maopeng, all your faults, all your bad habits, and change your bad habits. So the most important thing is to change your bad habits, change your character, develop your character, develop your mind so that you become an elevated person, a higher person. Because the Buddha says, if you want to go to heaven, it's not by liam omitahut, The Buddha says, you want to go to heaven, right now you must change your character to be the character of a deva or a devi, then only you are qualified to go to heaven. You cannot bribe heaven by saying Amitahut. So that is the way. Now, the fifth thing this Bala Pandita Sutta says is if you come back for a wise man, if you come back later as a human being, you'll be born into a high and wealthy family. It'll be good to look at, and you'll have a good life, well endowed. So these are the 5 things that a wise person gets. Just now we said a wise person does. He thinks good thoughts, he speaks good words, and he does good deeds. And the second characteristic is a wise man feels pleasure and joy here and now. The third, he's free from fear. The fourth, he has a good rebirth in the next life. And the fifth is when he comes back in future as a human rebirth, he'll be well endowed. Now there are the suttas that talk about the wise man. Anguttara Nikaya 2.99 says that a wise man carries his own burden, his own duties. He does not carry others' burdens. So when we go through life, all of us have our duties, our burden to perform. When we are young, we have to prepare to be a good adult. So our parents tell us that you must study well, so that in future you have an easier life. So the foolish boy will not want to study, he wants to lepak. And then waste his time, mix with friends who smoke and all that. Then later he has to work as a coolie, do very hard work, and get very little money for it. So that is, and then when you are young, you have to learn to be obedient, to study, and all that. And then as you become an adult, you have worldly duties to do. Yeah, you have a family to take care of, either your own family or your siblings or your relatives, your parents, grandparents to take care of. These are the duties of an adult that you have to perform because you have received from your parents, you must give back. That's only fair, isn't it? Because later you will become old yourself. And if you treat your parents well, in future your children will treat you well. Now, when we are old, we have to prepare for death and future lives. That means we have to let go of our worldly duties and carry our spiritual duties. A lot of people don't realize this. A lot of people, they die in harness, keep on working until you die. And then when you're about to die, you suddenly get a shock. Why do you get a shock when you're about to die? For umpteen years you have seen people dying. Yeah, you should know that one day your turn will come, isn't it? So we have to prepare for it. A lot of people, they don't never think. A lot of people don't like to think about these things. They say, "Choi, choi, choi." Don't talk about old age, sick and death. But that's reality we have to face. So we have to be smart. We have to prepare, because if you prepare, then when the time comes, you will not be afraid of death. Because a wise man is well prepared. When death comes, he's not afraid. Anytime he's not afraid when death comes. So don't get too involved in worldly duties. There are some people, after taking care of so many children, they still want to take care of grandchildren. That's not these worldly duties. After grandchildren, some more great-grandchildren. So it's very, very important to prepare, because to prepare yourself for future rebirth is not overnight. Something you can do overnight. It takes many years. Xiu Heng is to change your character, change your mind. That takes many years, at least 10 years. Yeah. Now another sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 4.115. There are 4 types of actions the Buddha mentioned. pleasant but unbeneficial, and then pleasant and beneficial, and then unpleasant and unbeneficial, and unpleasant but beneficial. So the first one, pleasant but unbeneficial, a lot of worldly people will chase after, like going to karaoke, sexual misconduct, hunting, fishing. This is the worldly way to enjoy yourself as much as you can because it is pleasant. But the wise man will not do it because it is unbeneficial. In other words, it's harmful to you in the end. Yeah. So worldly people, kia ai lo si thao ti boi kho, yeah, xin tim hao fu, yeah. But people who are wise will walk the way that is thao kho boi ti, yeah. So the second one, pleasant and beneficial. A lot of people will want to do because it's pleasant. And things like physical exercise to make yourself fit, doing charity, doing social work, and all these things. That is good. The third one is unpleasant and unbeneficial. Like there are some fanatics in some religions. They go through these ascetic practices, ku sing, ko hing. They torture themselves. In India, you have some of these yogis. They hold up their hand. They can hold up their hand 1 year, 10 years, but after that cannot bring it down. And then every day got pain. So that is unbeneficial. But because of wrong view, they do that. They think it's actually beneficial. So it's very pitiful. They're very sincere, but a bit bodoh. Now the last one is unpleasant but beneficial. For example, a student studying for exam. It's not very pleasant, but it's beneficial, so he has to do it. And then the spiritual path, especially to keep your sila, samadhi, panya, that is hard work. A lot of people won't walk that way, but because it is unpleasant. But a wise man, because he sees, even though it is unpleasant, it is beneficial, he will do it. So these are the 4 types of actions that distinguish a fool from a wise man. Now, there is an important sutta concerning karma in Anguttara Nikaya, I think 5.43. There the Buddha said, there are several things in the world that everybody wants. We want to be born beautiful, we want to be rich, we want to have a happy life, we want to have a long life, and after we pass away, we want to go to heaven. Everybody wants this, isn't it? But the Buddha said, these things that we want, we cannot get them by praying. We cannot get them by making vows. We cannot get them crying out loud for them. We cannot get them even though we think of them every day. Because the Buddha said, if we can get them, why is there so much suffering in the world? You can imagine beings in hell every day being tortured. They are crying out for hell. Who is helping? Nobody is helping them. So, for example, in Syria, now the war is going on. The people there are suffering so much. Every day they pray for help. Who is helping them? Nobody is helping them. So, the Buddha gave some examples to make us understand how vows by themselves do not work. So the Buddha said, suppose a person wanted oil. So a wise person will get sesame seeds and he will grind the sesame seeds and he gets oil. But the neighbor, foolish fellow, looking from far, he thinks he wants to get oil also. He puts sand and he grinds the sand. Can he get? He prays to Kuan Yin, also he won't get. And he grinds for 1 year, 10 years or so, he'll never get. He prays for it, he makes vows and all that, he'll never get it. Why? Because he's doing the wrong thing. So the Buddha, that's why the Buddha said, vows alone does not get us what we want. We have to work for it and do things the right way, the smart way. Another example the Buddha gave is that somebody wanted butter. So he took milk and he churned the milk, keep on churning, and the milk slowly becomes butter. Yeah, but a foolish fellow, he takes water and keeps churning the water. 10 years or so, he won't get. Yeah, so that's because he didn't do the right thing. So it is very important to do the right thing, and you can only do the right thing if you are taught the right way. The other thing I like to say is that the human life is very, very important, because in the human life, of all the 5 destinations of rebirth, we do the most karma in the human realm. Thao gao king, xiao tang, xiao sai. Thinking all the time, I want to do this, want to do that. So, because we keep thinking and doing this, doing that, we create a lot of karma. And this karma that we create now will decide the next few lifetimes. Not just one lifetime, but many other lifetimes. Because in the other realms, you do little karma. If a person is reborn as a cow, he keeps eating grass the whole day, he doesn't think so much. Yeah, so they don't do much karma. Ghosts also, every night go out and just cry, look for food, eat all the dirty corpses and all that by the roadside, and keep on crying. They don't use their thinking mind. So humans, we do a lot of karma. So we have to be very, very careful. Now, samsara is very scary because of what? Because of the 3 woeful planes. If we are reborn as a human being or as a deva or devi, then samsara is very pleasant, isn't it? But it's because of the 3 woeful planes that are very frightening. Some people, they have this yam yong ngan, they can see ghosts. Then you ask them, they can tell you, very scary. But then even if they don't tell you, if you have a nightmare and you have a nightmare where you are chased by ghosts, how do you feel? Very frightening, isn't it? So imagine if you are reborn as in the ghost realm, it's very, very frightening. And then as an animal, animals, why it's even more fearful, because the Buddha said, if you are caught by a bigger animal, you'll be eaten alive. Imagine your skin is torn out from you, your flesh is torn out for you, and you're crying in pain before you die. That's why animals live in great fear. You see the bird come down to the ground to eat also, one peck and he look left, one peck and he look right, looking left and right all the time. Very scared. So the worst is hell. Description of hell is given in the suttas. How you are tortured in hell. It's terrible. You are a fugitive in hell. Keep running, trying to escape from the hell beings who torture you. But every now and then you get caught. So the smart thing to do in life is what? To find a way never to be reborn as a ghost or an animal or go to hell. And luckily there is a way. If there is not a way, then we'll be suffering forever. Now, in the Samyutta Nikaya 55.62 up to 74, it is said that there are 4 factors that lead to great wisdom, that lead to vast wisdom, that lead to unequal wisdom. And what are these 4? First one is association with true men. Secondly, hearing the true Dhamma. The third is yoniso manasikara. And the fourth is practice in accordance with the Dhamma. The first one, association with true men. True men are true man, I think the Pali word is sappurisa, and it means a true man is a person who knows the true Dhamma. And the true Dhamma is the original Dhamma of the Buddha. And we know from Wikipedia and all that, archaeologists have proven the original teachings of the Buddha are only found in 5 Nikayas. The Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Sangyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, and Khuddaka Nikaya. Because these were the only suttas that existed during Emperor Asoka's time. Now they have dug up the Asoka pillars, the stone pillars that Asoka king made, and carved on the pillars is the evidence that during Emperor Asoka's time, only 5 Nikayas existed. No Mahayana Sutras, no Abhidhamma, no commentaries, only these 5 Nikayas. So the second condition is hearing the true Dhamma. That means you hear these 5 Nikayas. These are the most important words you want to hear. It is said in Anguttara Nikaya 4.180, the Buddha said, if any monk says that the Buddha taught such and such, or some senior monks or some group of monks say the Buddha taught such and such, the Buddha said we should not accept it, we should not reject it, but we should compare it with the suttas and the Vinaya. So it is in accordance with the suttas and the Vinaya. The Buddha said you can accept it as the Buddha's words. If not, the Buddha said reject it. This is the true Dhamma. And the third condition, yoniso manasikara, I like to translate as focus attention. Sometimes people say proper attention, sometimes Bhikkhu Bodhi says careful attention. But I say focus attention because when you listen to the Dhamma, you must have focus attention. You must focus your mind to listen. So when you pay full attention with a focused mind, that is focus attention, and that will make you understand the Dhamma that you are hearing. Now the second and the third condition, hearing the true Dhamma and having focused attention when you are listening, will lead you to understanding, and that means you will see the Dhamma and you will have the what is called Dhamma Chakku, vision of the Dhamma, and that is synonymous with right view. Once you see the Dhamma, you understand the basic Dhamma, you have right view. And right view is the first factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. So when you attain right view, you have entered the Noble Eightfold Path. That's the meaning of entering the stream. And stream entry, becoming an Arya, first path attainer, is understanding the basic Dhamma. The second and the third condition is very important. Hearing the true Dhamma and having a focused attention when you listen. The fourth one is practice in accordance with the Dhamma. After you have learned the Dhamma, then you must practice, carry it out. And when you practice the Dhamma, you attain higher stages of attainment of Aryahood. Because just listening will bring you to the first path. The first path, it takes some time for that wisdom to mature. By practicing, by hearing more Dhamma, by meditating and all that. And then when the wisdom matures, it becomes fruit, Sotapanna. And they said in the Suttas, Sangyutta Nikaya 25.1, that after a person attains stream entry, he will become a Sotapanna, a first fruit attainer, before he dies. That means it takes some time for that wisdom to mature. And then when he attains Sotapanna, the 3 factors fall away. In the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta 115, it is also said, just now I just recap the 4 factors that lead to vast wisdom, that is association with true men, hearing the true Dhamma, focus attention, and then practice in accordance with the Dhamma. These 4 conditions are also called the conditions for stream entry. in some other sutta in the Samyutta Nikaya. They're called the 4 conditions for stream entry. If you want to become an Arya, first path attainer, you have to fulfill these 4 conditions. In the Majjhima Nikaya 115, a monk is called wise if he is skilled in the Dhamma. Because if a person is skilled in the Dhamma, he understands the Dhamma, then he will cultivate wholesome states and he will avoid unwholesome states. If you cultivate wholesome states, you benefit yourself and you benefit others. If you cultivate unwholesome states, you'll harm yourself and you will harm others as well. Now, just now we talked about right view, stream entry. When we attain right view, we eliminate ignorance and delusion. There are 3 causes of suffering, we know, greed, hatred and delusion. In the suttas it is said that greed is not extremely harmful but very hard to eliminate. For example, some people like to eat good food. Whenever there is good food, they cannot restrain themselves. So now you get a lot of obese people. Yeah, Malaysia is one country with a lot of obese people. Yeah. So it is not extremely harmful, but very hard to eliminate. It is a weakness, very hard to eliminate. Hatred is extremely harmful, but easier to eliminate. If you hate some people, you might kill them. Like recently we had in Orlando, isn't it? This gunman. People he doesn't know just because of his view that gay people and lesbians are deviant people that should be eliminated. Then he killed innocent people for nothing. They never harmed him. Yeah. So this hatred is extremely harmful, but easier to eliminate because once you correct his view, once he understands, then he can get rid of that hatred. Then delusion is something that is extremely harmful and very hard to eliminate. Delusion, you are ignorant, but you don't know you are ignorant. You believe you are right. Like some people, because of their views, they kill many people and they think they will go to heaven for it. So that is extremely harmful and very hard to change the delusion, very hard. In the Anguttara Nikaya 10.105, it is said that ignorance, which is usually accompanied by shamelessness and recklessness, will lead to wrong view, and wrong view will lead to wrong thoughts, and then to wrong speech, wrong actions, and this will lead to all unwholesome states or all unwholesome qualities that will harm a lot of people. But the true knowledge, this is knowledge of the Dhamma, will give you right view, which will lead to right thoughts, right speech, right action, which will lead to all wholesome states. So true knowledge or right view, that is Aryan right view, is very beneficial. In the Majjhima Nikaya Sutta 43, it is said that a wise man understands the 4 noble truths. If a person understands or has a basic understanding of the 4 noble truths, he has attained right view. And that means he has become an Arya. So in this sutta also it is mentioned that to attain stream entry, only 2 conditions are necessary. The voice of another teaching you the Dhamma, the true Dhamma, and you have focused attention when you listen to it. It is also said that the purpose of wisdom is knowledge, full understanding, and abandoning or letting go. So if you have wisdom, you will have knowledge, you will have understanding, and you will let go. Sometimes some people go for retreat and then they come back, they say, oh, the teacher certified and they're Sotapanna already. But you see whether they can let go or not. If they cannot let go, cannot be. In the Anguttara Nikaya 5.53, it is said that the wise man possesses the wisdom that sees arising and passing away. The wisdom which is Aryan and penetrative or deep and leads to the complete destruction of suffering. So a wise man possesses the wisdom that sees arising and passing away is impermanence. If you see impermanence in everything in the world, then you see suffering. To give you a good example, suppose one day the doctor tells you that you have 4th stage cancer, a big tumor inside you, you didn't know. So you have 4th stage cancer, and the doctor says you have 3 months more to live. Then suddenly you see impermanence, yeah? And because of that, now you see suffering, yeah? You don't see suffering when you're in meditation, you're sitting so nice and comfortable. How can you see suffering? But if somebody tells you that you have 4th stage cancer, then you really see suffering. So the wise man, he sees the nature of the world is impermanent. And because of that, he awakens to the danger of samsara, the danger of existence. And if he investigates the Dhamma, he knows that there are woeful planes of rebirth that are really frightening. And then he makes up his mind to do something instead of going the normal, happy way, enjoying life. And it is said in some other sutta that once you understand the basic Dhamma and you see impermanence and you see suffering, then you will withdraw from society. You will withdraw from all your friends who go for the happy hour, go to Hajjai and all that. You withdraw and you live a more secluded life. And then some of your friends will think, what happened to this fellow? Now he's a funny fellow. Don't want to mix with us. Yeah. Aryans are funny fellows. They are not normal fellows. So there's one sutta, Sangyutta Nikaya 12.19. The Buddha said, these are quite strong words. The difference between the wise man and the fool is the living of the holy life for the ending of suffering. So a really wise man, he cultivates the spiritual path to end suffering. A foolish man will still want to continue to enjoy worldly life, worldly pleasures, and in the end, when time comes, then he'll be a very worried man. You can see some people just a few days before they die, they're very scared to close their eyes, because every time they close their eyes, they see Ho Hia Ti Lai Liao, Akong, Ama, all that. So some of them dare not switch off the light at night when they sleep. Dare not be left alone in the room. That's not a good sign. There's some even worse. Before they die, they're crying. I heard of one lady was dying of cancer. She was crying every day, and her close friends asked her why. She said, "Who has tied me up in chains? It's all in iron chains. She's going to hell." So you won't know until a few days before you die where you're going. So you have to prepare for it. If you're wise, you'll prepare for it. And the best way is to study the Dhamma, listen to the suttas. By the way, this morning I brought 50 micro SD cards in English and 50 micro SD cards, Hokkien talks. It's in the office. If you all want, you can get it there. So I shall end here and invite any questions or anything to discuss.
Let's rejoice in Bante's teaching by saying sadhu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So we thank Bante for a good teaching from the Nikaya. Questions are invited. Anyone who would like to ask question, you can ask in English or Hokkien. Please take the opportunity to ask questions. Don't be shy. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone would like to ask questions? Yeah. Or clarify? Yep.
Bante, I'd like to ask a question. I mean, in a lay perspective, we are always judging. Sometimes when we listen to Dhamma talks, we sleep. But when we are actually in association with friends, chit-chatting, we are so awake and attentive. And then when we listen to a Dhamma talk, we say, oh, this Bhante or this speaker no good, this speaker good. See? So maybe Bhante, you can actually help to clarify. The appreciation of listening to Dhamma comes from our affinity. Affinity towards a teacher, or affinity towards Dhamma itself, the investigation. Why is it that some people find it interesting to listen, while others are total abhorred towards listening to it or even wanting to hear it? Thank you.
That has very much to do with our past lives, our affinity to the Dhamma. Whether you like to listen to Dhamma or you don't like, or you like a certain monk or you don't like his face. So there are some people, their karma is so heavy that they cannot come near the Dhamma. I give you an example of a very extreme case. An old man told me the auntie has a very nasty character, very bad temper. So much so the children cannot stand her, send her to the nursing home. But maybe because she was old or so. And even in the nursing home, sometimes she get into these tantrums. Nobody can control her. It's like xiao liao for that moment, man. So one day she had this tantrum, and they had to get the nurse to give her injection to go to sleep. And then after she fell asleep, 2 teeth came out so long, Dracula teeth, so long. And then they got a shock. Then they called the children. 3 children came in their cars to see. And this old man who told me, he happened to be passing there. And then he saw the cousin's cars there. Then he thought maybe the auntie died. He stopped his car, he went in. When he saw also, he got a shock. The teeth were so long, 2 Dracula teeth. And 2 days later, this auntie died. When she died, the 2 teeth disappeared. That means she already turned into a ghost. That's why we Chinese, we say we have a ling hun inside. In Hinduism, they call astral body. This astral body, people who are psychic can see. So she already turned into this ghost inside. So when she died, this ghost left the body. So the teeth disappeared. So this man told me, this auntie, the karma so bad. Few years earlier, he tried to bring her into the Dhamma. She won't listen to Dhamma talks. Give her, she won't listen. So he thought, minimum, teach her to chant Namo Tassa. Just chanting Namo Tassa also she could not manage, She tried to chant until every way she tried until the tears came down. She said, don't teach me, I cannot do it. So you see the karma is so heavy. Like Devadatta, because he tried to kill the Buddha a few times, his karma was so heavy. In the end, he felt remorse, he repented. So he wanted to go and see the Buddha. But he could never see the Buddha because of his bad karma. Before he reached the Buddha, he died. So a lot of this has to do with the past karma. So if a person has, for example, an animal nature inside, or a ghost nature inside, it won't. But if a person has, for example, a human nature or a deva or devi nature, you'll be interested in the Dhamma. Last time when I was in Medan, Indonesia, there was one man who says that he can see ghosts and can see devas and devis. So he says sometimes when monks give Dhamma talk, you can see many devis sitting up in the air there, listening to the Dhamma. So Devis, they have affinity, Devas and Devis want to listen to Dhamma. Some human beings, not all. So there are some you cannot bring them into the Dhamma.
Yeah, thank you, Bhante. Yeah, the question at the back.
Hi, Bhante. Just want to seek your advice or some opinion. Because you mentioned that we should keep our practice, like keeping all the five precepts. And what happens if, let's say, other people treating us badly, like giving us abusive words, and also abusive actions to us, treating us very badly. So how can we, still practice Dharma, and also how do we deal with it? Okay, thanks.
In the suttas, it is mentioned that an ordinary worldling, putujana, will have mental suffering and physical suffering. Okay? But an Arya does not have mental suffering, but he still has physical suffering, like the Buddha. So, this mental suffering comes from thinking. And the suffering happens because we cannot accept certain things. But when we understand the Dhamma, then we know that everything happens according to conditions, causes and conditions, yin yang. So we accept it. So in this case, it may be something to do with your past life. In your past life, you had probably hurt this person, and then he comes back and he wants to hurt you in a certain way. So we have to accept it. We accept it that it is our karma. Then when you accept it, then you be nice to that person, and that person will be very surprised. And then slowly he will change his attitude towards you. So whatever happens now, we have to accept it. You don't want to accept it also, it will come. Can't do anything, yeah?
Hello. Good morning, Bhante. I would like a clarification on gratitude towards parents, because like just today is Father's Day, right? So we know that we have to take care of our parents, repay our parents, and then the Buddha also said in the Mangala Sutta that taking care of parents is the greatest blessing. Then, but however, there's a misconception that if let's say the son or the daughter enters into monkhood like that, and then how would they take care or repay their parents? There's a misconception there, so I would appreciate if Bhante can clarify that.
The last part, can you repeat again? Suppose the son or the daughter what?
Yeah, I would like to become a monk, and then how would that son take care of their parents, because he has to leave the family and go and practice like that. So how? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so if somebody wants to renounce, first he has to consider his family duties. Like in my case, when I wanted to renounce, I had to consider who's going to take care of my old parents. And luckily, I had a brother. My parents were old-fashioned type. They only want to stay with the son, not the daughter. They had 2 sons, 6 daughters. But they didn't want to stay with the daughter. But nowadays it's different. Nowadays people realize that daughters are more filial than sons. So, because I had my brother, even though he was Catholic, because he married a Catholic lady, he was willing to look after my mother, so that's how I could go. But even then, I realized I should do my duty to provide for my parents. So I saved up enough money to pay for a house. After I paid for the house, then I left the house for my... By that time, I wanted to renounce. My father died. So I saw more dukkha. Then I left the house for my mother, then I left. So in the case of like this, somebody who wants to renounce, he has to see whether the mother can be taken care of by other brothers and sisters. Or at least to have the financial security to be looked after. Yeah? You cannot just run away. Many years ago when I was in Thailand, I saw one monk about 30-something years old. He came to become a monk, and then the wife every day will come to the monastery with a small kid, looking very sad. So I thought, this fellow, not right lah. You leave your wife alone like that to take care of the burden.
Bhante, just now you say that the wise observe 7 precepts. I did not catch the other 2 precepts because Bhante went very fast. Thank you.
Yeah, I had a lot to quote from the sutta, so I went very fast. But never mind, it's all recorded. You can listen to it another 2-3 times. Now, this about the 7 precepts, a lot of people think that we have to keep 5 precepts, actually 7 precepts. Originally, the Buddha spoke about 7 precepts. Later, he mentioned 5. Why? Because in the Vinaya books, we see at first the Buddha did not make any precept against liquor. So there was a monk, I think his name was Sagara or something. He had psychic powers, and the Buddha asked him to stay in external sect temple, because the external sect temple, in the altar, they kept a naga, what we like to call dragon spirit, a snake spirit. So, and this naga doesn't like other people to come into that temple. So this monk with psychic powers, he went to pass the night in that temple. And then in the middle of the night, the naga came to disturb him. At first, blew smoke on him. Then he sat in meditation and he blew smoke back to the naga. And then the naga got angry, blew flame at him. So he also blew flame at the naga. So they were involved in a big fight the whole night. And those monks outside who had psychic powers, they could see. So early next morning, he came out of the villagers all thought, this fellow habis must be all be burned up. But the next morning, he came out of the temple with his alms bowl. And then they asked him what happened. He opened the alms bowl, he showed them the naga inside the alms bowl. So he subdued the naga. So the news went around about this monk having great psychic power. So when he went on alms round, there were a few monks following him. And these few monks were a gang of rotten monks. In the Vinaya, you have a few gangs, gang of 6 monks, gang of 17 monks and all that, all the rotten eggs. So these monks followed him. So the villagers were very impressed by this monk with psychic power. They asked him, Bhante, is there anything else we can offer you? So he's a cultivated monk. He doesn't want anything. He said, no need. But these monks behind, they say, oh yeah, toddy. Tua. So they brought liquor and served him. At that time, there was no precept against liquor. So they drank. But these rotten monks, they are seasoned drinkers. They boleh tahan. This monk never drank before. He drank after a few rounds. When he reached the main gate, he collapsed. They had to carry him back to the monastery. So then they informed the Buddha. From that time, the Buddha made the precept against liquor. So actually, taking liquor, you don't harm other people. Yeah, that's why. But when he was lying there, the Buddha said, you look at Sagara. He's sleeping with his feet towards the Tathagata, his head away. Last time, he would always sleep with his head towards the Tathagata, the feet away. Now can he fight the Naga? The Buddha asked. So from then on, the Buddha made the rule against liquor. So from just now I said, from the Noble Eightfold Path, there are 3 factors that involve sila. That is right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Right speech, there are 4 precepts. Right action, there are 3 precepts. Right livelihood is covered by these 7 precepts. So altogether there are 7 precepts. So it's very important to uphold these 7 precepts. You can drink a little bit of liquor, don't get mabuk.
Bante, I have a question. Bante, my mom used to say that he get gong tao, people, lo gong tao. So I want to ask, in Buddhism, how we look at this gong tao? Is it a real thing, or if people say that they kena gong tao, how should we react to it? Thank you.
There are some monks who say there is no such thing as gong tao, black magic. I personally heard this many years ago. There was an old monk in Penang. He tells people there is no such thing. But from talking to various people, I believe such things exist. And the thing is, if you have good karma, it cannot harm you. You got to not only have good sila, you have got to have a lot of goodness inside you. There's an Indian belief that for every precept you keep, there is one deva looking after you. You keep 10 precepts, there are 10 devas. You keep 200 precepts, there are 200 devas looking. That's why some virtuous monks, they go deep into the forest, they're not harmed. They go deep into the forest, there are a lot of dangerous beings, unseen beings, but they don't get harmed because they can read your mind. They know what type of person you are. So you have metta, loving kindness and all that, you won't get harmed. Normally people with ji-un care, one so tai, because they don't have enough blessings. They're always fearful, like just now the sutta said. Fears arise in the fool, not in the wise man. So you have to, the Buddha's way, if you walk the Buddha's way, practice the Buddha's teachings, you'll be very safe. Many years ago, I followed my first teacher. I had a lot of faith with him that time because I was ignorant, just come into Buddhism, Mahayana teacher. I stayed with him 3 years. Eventually, I came to realize he dabbles with black magic. He tried to harm me once, but I was practicing so hard. I don't know how many devas were protecting me, but I didn't get harmed.
Bante, can you explain the law of attraction in the perspective of Buddhism? Because like if we read from Western knowledge, training, they have all this. You read the book, The Secret, they talk about the law of attraction, ask and you shall receive, all these things, right? So how Buddhism can answer in this? Because personally, recently, I have some experience on this. Both good and bad. Like for example, this kind of thought doesn't just I created it and so it happened. It just came and then it happened. So for example, the good one, I had a thought like my uncle is actually sitting beside me, and then I suddenly thought like, oh, suddenly I thought of like my uncle is going to give me money, and then it really give him like 100. Yeah, this is true. Like really, it just came and then really happened. He gave me 100. So this is, I didn't create it, but it just happened. So the bad one, I got a feeling that something is not right. Something is, it was an event and then something wasn't going, something will happen. And then it turned out really some challenges, obstacles just happened. Yeah, I didn't create it just happened. And then is this called the law of attraction? I don't know. Thank you.
There is no such law of attraction in Buddhism, but there is a law of karma vipaka. Yeah? So according to the law of karma vipaka, if you have the good karma, things will go the way you want, provided you have this condition of good karma. Also, like you say, attraction. Some people are attracted to another person mainly because of past life karma. No? If you have an affinity with somebody you like in the past, this life when you see him or her, you see mukha manis, they're attracted. Yeah. But as far as that making wishes, if you have the good karma, it can happen. But if you don't have the good karma, it will not happen. Sometimes you can force the thing, you know. Have you heard of some people? They want to get a Ampat Echo number. They go to the cemetery at 12 midnight. They poke a bamboo into the grave, and then they pour the blood of a chicken or something, and then the ghost cannot stand. The ghost come out, and then if they have the courage enough, they will ask for the number. Many of them will run away. But what happens is that sometimes this fellow, he strikes the number and then he gets a lot of money. But after enjoying for a short while, that person dies. Then people say, oh, that ghost caused it. But I think what happened is this fellow, his good karma is not much. His blessings is not much. Now he has forced the ghost to give him the number and struck it rich. So he enjoyed himself, all the good karma used up. So his life as a human being is gone, is used up, his good karma. We continue to live as a human being because we have the good karma of a human being. Some people, they don't have the good karma. You can see some children, 1 year old, 2 years old, they get cancer and they die. Why? Because they don't have that good karma to continue as a human being. Even devas, the Buddha said, there are some devas, they're enjoying themselves in heaven, totally enjoying themselves. After many years, they have used up their good karma, they will suddenly die. Karma, blessings, very important. So some people, they go to a temple, they pray to the deva for help. If their karma is good, they can be helped. If the karma is no good, nobody wants to help them.
Good morning, Bhante. I have a question. How can we deepen the Yoniso Manasikara to focus attention for us to learn and reflect Dhamma? Thank you, Bhante.
This Yoniso Manasikara are found in intelligent people. If a person is intelligent, he can focus his mind for a short while. That short while to listen to the Dhamma and understand. The other type of person who has Yoniso Manasikara is to cultivate it by Samadhi, getting one-pointedness of mind. So in the suttas, the Buddha said, let an intelligent person come to me. I will teach him the Dhamma. The Buddha can only teach people who have the good karma to understand. The Buddha doesn't teach Dhamma to everyone he meets, So he only select people. So if you have the good karma, you'll be able to focus your mind. But if you find difficulty, then you have to train your mind to to focus by practicing, for example, anapanasati, paying attention to your breath. Nowadays, there's a lot of distraction on the internet. So you find, for example, children who play games, their attention span is very short. They keep going from one thing to another. But meditation is not. Meditation is one object all the time. You focus on one object. You train your mind to focus. That is very important. If you are able to train your mind to focus, whatever you do, you need this ability to focus. Even those kickboxers in Thailand, before they go for their match, they sit down and meditate. They get concentration first. Any sports, if they need to concentrate, they will sit down and meditate and get their mind together. And then, so either you are born with it or you have to cultivate it by practicing samatha.
Bhante, I'd like to ask this question. If we have friends who are suffering, or bedridden, or with deep illness, normally if they are a Buddhist, we can easily talk to the family members and try to call in Bhante to give him a blessing so that his suffering can go away. Or normally we understand that if it's a non-Buddhist, sometimes you can advise the family member and says, he might be suffering 2 years bedridden, and cannot live. And the family members are wise to talk to him and say some good things to him and ask him to go. But there are cases that if they are non-Buddhist and the person lying in the bed almost 2-3 years, and we as Buddhists and as a friend and understand that, and the family, probably the family members all give up. They don't know he's still lying down there and suffering. Should we as Buddhists volunteer or to ask Bhante to come in and give him a blessing? Probably he's so frightened to go away. Or are we interfering into the karma of the individual? What should we do?
The most important thing is to find out whether he wants the monk to go and do the chanting or whatever, or the family members want. If, for example, they are Christians, they don't want you to go and bring a Buddhist monk. They get angry. So firstly, it's just like giving advice. You want to give advice to somebody, you must see whether that person is willing to accept that advice. So that's the most important thing. If they want, only you do it.
Bhante, allow me to ask a simple question. A few of the temples that I have been associated with, they sort of encourage dana and transfer of merits to the dead. There's this case where the lady just before passing away, seems to see a black dog for quite some time, for a few days, I would say. And I've read, I don't know where, in one of the Dharma book, that seeing black dog before death could be a nimitta, showing that the person might become a dog after death. So in this particular case, does it mean that even if the family would like to do transfer of merit for her, she might not be able to get it? So in other words, no need to do transfer of merit. Thank you.
Are you asking before death or after death?
After death. Then there's no need to do a transfer of merit for her, is that right?
Well, firstly, I'm not sure whether that person is going to be reborn as a dog or not. Yeah, you're not sure, ma. But the sutta says that if our relative has passed away, we can only help them if they are reborn as ghosts. And I believe that is so because only ghosts come back. Only ghosts can come back. So the Buddha also said that we have many relatives and friends in the ghost realm. We may have forgotten about them. So every time we do dana, food dana, we should transfer merit to all our departed relatives and friends in the ghost realm. There are many there that you have forgotten. They'll be very happy to receive. So just in case your friend is reborn as a ghost, then that friend will receive it. No?
Thank you. Bhante, on these questions which are being asked, all of us have belief. We have belief, but we lack understanding. Culturally, we are caught up with a lot of mumbo-jumbo, different races, different religion, different culture. So in this part, what we actually have, like example, recently we lost a dear friend in a hospital, and she was cultivated, but basically in the time when we go to Western doctors, like the brother's question at the back, sometimes we understand our Dhamma and we understand about Pancha Nirvana, skepticism, doubt, and restlessness, which actually manifests during the end of our lives. But at the same time, what we find is we have doctors injecting us with morphine, injecting us with drugs to keep us like stable. So if we are a cultivator and we are practicing, does these conditions which arise actually help us to realize that this is the conditions of suffering and help us in our path to actually gain liberation? But at the same time, the doctors are actually jabbing us and jabbing us and jabbing us and putting us back into a deluded state. I would like to get some clarification for the benefit of all to actually see the wisdom of what we do. Thank you.
Of course, injections and morphine and all that is not to make you see Dhamma. It's just to prolong your life. So at the last moment, if you want to think of Dhamma and all that, actually it only helps very little, because there is a sutta where a cousin of the Buddha came to ask the Buddha. He said, Bhagava, I was wondering if I were to die a sudden death, for example, killed by a man, or knocked down by a wild buffalo, or knocked down by a horse carriage or something, at the last moment I'm full of fear. So he asked the Buddha, he said, in that case, will I go for a bad rebirth? The Buddha said, don't worry, Mahanama. For a long time, you have followed the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And so your mind has elevated thoughts. And because your mind has elevated thoughts, that will bring you to a good rebirth. So in other words, your last moment is not so important. Why? Because our last conscious moment, at that time, when we pass away, we don't really pass away. The doctor will see when your breath stops and your pulse stops, the doctor say, this man has passed away. But actually you have not. It will take another few hours. And during those few hours, you have lost consciousness of the whole world outside you, but your mind is still going on. And what you think at the very last moments, in that dream state, depends on your karma. Some people, their karma is very good, so they'll think of good thoughts. Some people, ki ka ki chiu, when they are dying, they'll be fighting with somebody. So there was one lady who told me in Penang, the mother was dying of cancer. The last moments, her face was in pain, because she was dying in maybe the tumor burst or something. Whole face was in pain. And then after that, the doctor said she died. But the doctor told me 1 hour later, when he went to look at the mother, this mother's face was so happy, so clear, beaming. That means she got a good heart. So after the doctor said she had passed away, that is clinical death, not yet death in the Buddha's teaching. The Buddha said a person is dead, you can sense when you feel the body. If the body is cold, don't be afraid. But there are some people, they're certified dead by the doctor, the body is still warm, they put in the coffin, 2 days later he gets up. You touch the body is cold, really dead, won't wake up again. So those 2 or 3 hours after that clinical death, before the real death, the mind is working all the time. That one you have no control. That time your karma will decide. So that's why our everyday mind is very important. That's why we train our mind every day to have wholesome thoughts. The Buddha always stressed on wholesome states of mind, to get rid of unwholesome states of mind. That will determine your good rebirth. Okay?
Good morning, Bhante. Is it possible for one to attain enlightenment without renouncing? Just like if it's female, then become a nun. Because looking at the worldly things and the conditions that we are in, it's very, very difficult to practice even if we are single in this current society, unless we renounce to become a nun. But due to certain conditions, then we still can't be a nun. Does it mean that it's difficult to attain enlightenment? Thank you.
Okay, there are various stages before full enlightenment. The first fruit is called Sotapanna, then the second fruit is called Sakadagamin, and the third is Anagamin, and the fourth is Arahanthood. Arahant is fully enlightened. Now, for the first Sotapanna, you attain it by listening to the Dhamma, mainly. You can say 99.9% of the people in the suttas who attain Sotapanna were by listening to the Dhamma. And if they are intelligent enough, they understand, they get a vision of the Dhamma, and then they get right view, and they become a Sotapanna before they die. So this first fruit, Sotapanna, is not difficult to find, even among lay people. Those who are dedicated to listening to the suttas, to reading the Nikayas, they can become Sotapanna. Even without any meditation, if they have the good karma, they're born intelligent. Now the second fruit, Sakadagamin, in addition to eliminating the 3 factors that a Sotapanna has eliminated, the Sakadagamin has reduced greed, hatred and delusion. Now greed, hatred and delusion are connected to the 5 hindrances, Pancharana. So to get rid of the 5 hindrances or to suppress the 5 hindrances, you need jhanas. But not perfect samadhi. Perfect samadhi is required for the Anagamin and the Arahant. Perfect samadhi means the 4 jhanas. 4 jhanas is a very high stage of meditation where the breath stops and you are totally blissed out. So Anagamins and Arahants are very hard to find in the world. Very hard. Even those that have reached that stage, normally they won't come and mix with society, and they are not eager to tell people that they have attained. And Sakadagamin are people who practice meditation in addition to listening to the suttas. And if they have attained the first or the second or the third jhana, they can get Sakadagamin. So as a lay person, Sotapanna is within the reach of a lot of lay people. If you are interested to come here today to listen to the Dhamma, you are already an intelligent person, already a wise person. A fool won't be interested to listen to Bhante Hai. So boring.
Pass away, you should chant for 12 hours. Only then you'll take care of the deceased. What is your view on that?
No, this Mahayana view, there's a Mahayana view that you cannot touch the body for 8 hours, not 12. But normally it's 8 hours. And that came from one particular Pure Land monk called Tai Si Fasa. And not all Mahayana monks believe that. So it is his personal view. It does not come from the suttas. It does not even come from the Mahayana sutras. It is a personal view of a monk. So it is not valid as far as most people are concerned, because once a person is pronounced clinically dead, you touch that person won't know. His 5 senses are already withdrawn. He's only alive in the mind. Yeah.
Okay, very interesting question and answer session. Are there any burning questions you'd like to ask? Anyone? Got flame or smoke one? Any more burning questions? Yeah. Don't be shy. Please feel free. Yeah. Okay.
Good morning, Bhante. I always been confused by the saying of there's a God, and then I believe Buddha doesn't really thinks there's a creator or God. So how actually can we explain or understand which one is which? Is it there is no God, no creator, or there is, or how is this whole so-called Big Bang or whatever happened that there's so many living beings? Thank you.
This concept of God is a natural consequence of our thinking mind. We observe that everything has a beginning. So since everything that we see has a beginning, so we conclude that the world also had a beginning. And the beginning of the world is when time started. So we believe that there is a creator God that created the world. It is, as far as we can see, it is a belief that is not proven. Has anybody proven? It's not proven. So we also cannot say that there is no God because we cannot prove it. Now the only thing is, what do you mean by God? The person who is not a very wise person will think that God is a being up there in heaven with a long white beard looking down at you, and then making judgment, this fellow must go to heaven, this fellow must go to hell, and all this. That is an out-of-date model of God. When we were young, maybe we had that kind of model. Years ago, when I was in school, I was in, actually I'm from KL. So I was in St. John's for 12 years. And during my time, we had a lot of Irish brothers. And they were very nice people. In fact, they inspired me to walk the spiritual path. So at that time, I also believed in God. I had great faith in God. In fact, every day I'd go to the chapel and pray. And I was one of those goody boys. Every day go to the chapel. But one day, when I was about 18 years old in Form 6, this computer began to really work. Then I had a lot of questions. And then when I presented these questions to those brothers, they could not give a really satisfactory answer. You see, like simple questions like, if God is supposed to be the creator of everything, and God is supposed to be almighty, God knows the past, the present, and the future. It's omniscient, etc., etc. Yeah. So you ask them a simple question like, if God is so merciful, as they say, why did God create hell? God create hell and wants to put somebody there, isn't it? Otherwise, no logic to create hell. Let everybody go to heaven. Yeah. They cannot give you a satisfactory answer. So my friend, another friend of mine asked, he's a Hindu. I said, if a person is not a Christian, but he has a very good heart, and he helps everybody, does not do evil, but he is not baptized, does he have to go to hell? And then that Lasalian brother, I thought, and then he said, no lah. Not logical, isn't it? If a person is a good person, why must he go to hell? Didn't harm anybody, ma. But there's a serious answer he gave, which means you don't have to baptize to go to heaven, ma. Yes, but he was quite kind. He was willing to give that kind of answer.
I previously read a book about the writer managed to talk to God. So it's called Conversation with God. So in the whole book, actually it's explained a lot of things that Bible have a lot of not right thing according to God. It mentioned that a lot of things is being rewritten or changed or things like that. Like Bante said just now, why God created the hell or whatever. But according to the book, God said there's no hell. There's no such thing as that. Everything happened here. Everything is here. Things like that. So there's a lot of concept that been mentioned by the so-called God is totally slightly different from whatever the religion mentioned. So that's why I was confused. Like, hey, it looks like it's really true. What?
Well, the problem is sometimes some people, they find that their Bible contradicts certain logical things that we believe now. So they try to alter their. If you go and look into, for example, the early versions of the Bible, they say certain things that now new versions of the Bible will be different. When I was young and I had to study Bible knowledge as a subject for Form 3 exam, in the Bible that I read, according to Ronald Knox, somebody like Abraham, Moses, they lived to something like 25,000 years. So nowadays they say, oh, not logical, how can a man live to 25,000 years? And then they change that. But the old Bible says 25,000 years. And according to the Buddha's teaching, that is possible. Because in the Buddha's teachings, man goes through certain periods where the life can be longer and longer, and certain periods when the life will become shorter and shorter. And according to the Buddha, the longest human life can go up to is 80,000 years. And the shortest is 10 years. A lot of things in the Bible, if you read the Bible alone, you will not understand. But when you read the Buddha's words, then you find, because the Buddha is a Samma Sambuddha, he has explained everything so clearly that even what is said in the Bible you can understand. For example, in the Bible it is said, unless a man be born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter the kingdom of God. So now they interpret be born of the water means you must be baptized by water. And born of the Spirit means you must drink the Spirit, the wine, which is the blood of Jesus. Drink the wine, then you can go to heaven. But not according to the Buddhism. In Buddhism, the Buddha talked about 4 types of birth. Born from the egg, born from the womb, born from water or vapor, and direct transformation, that is born of the Spirit. The Buddha also said that this, the last two, born of water or vapor and direct transformation, is superior than the other two. Born of the egg is like animals, birds and all that, born of the egg. Born of the womb is like human beings and even some animals. Born of water, there are 2 types. One is the lower type, like born in the excrement and all that. The higher type might be like cloud devas. And then born of Spirit is direct transformation. Beings who go to heaven, they die here, suddenly they see themselves in heaven. So there is no period in the womb they have to go through or in the egg. So from there you can understand why it is said in the Bible that unless a man be born, Jesus said, unless a man be born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot go to heaven. So nowadays, this concept of God is, if you think of a being in heaven looking at you, that is out of date already. No more in fashion. Now it's new. It's something. In America they call it what, the intelligent something. And now science is getting so advanced that everything is consciousness. Everything, the world is made out of consciousness. Last time we used to think that time had a beginning, that the world had a beginning. The Buddha said the world, there is no beginning. Time has no beginning, time has no end. Space also, you cannot find the limits of space. These 2 things science didn't know before. And then the third thing that science still has not come to understand, as the Buddha said, consciousness can be developed until it's boundless. If you practice samatha meditation, concentration, until the mind opens up, it will be boundless, like the Buddha. So now science has proven that time has no beginning and no end. And space also is boundless. So that's why people like this Professor Stephen Hawking, a few years ago, he believed there must be a creator God. Now he says no more. He doesn't believe in a creator God anymore. Out of date.
Thank you all for the questions. Maybe just to conclude, there's a question actually from Johor Bahru. It's not just the audience here, but the talk is also streamed live to Kedah, Johor Bahru, and some other places overseas. The question from Johor Bahru shall conclude our session. Bante, the question from the devotee is, just now Bante mentioned that people who are wise sometimes seem quite odd, seems quite weird, not like the worldly people. So the question is, how can a lay person who wants to practice Dhamma not seem at the same time odd to the worldly friends?
A person who wants to practice the Dhamma, there are a few things he cannot compromise. That is withdrawing from society, and spending more time listening to the suttas and meditating and changing your unwholesome states of mind and cultivating wholesome states of mind. These are basic things on the spiritual path. You cannot compromise. But you can compromise as a lay person. Like sometimes people, once in a while, somebody's daughter getting married, invite you for dinner. That happens once in a blue moon. Never mind, can go. Yeah. Or 80-year-old lady, their family is celebrating her birthday, ask you to go. Go lah, for friendship's sake. Or somebody is sick in the hospital with cancer, go and visit lah. So these basic human qualities of kindness, compassion, sociability, you can practice. Not that you cannot practice, but we don't want to spend too much time in society lah, enjoying happy hour here and there. Yeah.
Thank Bhante for his kindness in giving the talk. Not only comment on Tipitaka, but also have to comment on Bible also. Indeed, Dhamma teacher nowadays, operating in modern society, need to be very knowledgeable. So we are very fortunate today that Bhante has spent so much time explaining to us and also answer our queries. Yeah. So let us, with folded palms and respectfully, rejoice in Bhante's teaching and rejoice in our own learning opportunity today by saying sadhu. Yeah? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.